Good, you did? Yeah, okay. Good morning. This is our regular staff meeting of Monday, February 2nd. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with warrant review. And Misty, do you have anything to start us off?
Madam Chair, for Larissa Bonnet, we will be removing an invoice for $36.24. She needs to resubmit that.
Okay.
It's on
2 of 6.
Oh, yeah, 2 and 6.
Great.
$36.24.
Questions for Misty? All right, we'll start back with page 1 of 1. Mr. Jennings?
I'm sorry, I was getting ready for the next page.
Oh, okay. Page 1 of 6.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Jennings.
Under the county clerk, there's Government Finance Officers Association for 2025 AA registration fees of 100. I was hoping I could get a little bit more information on that one. Page
1 of 6. Okay, yes.
Madam Chair. Yeah. Commissioner Jennings, yes. So what that is that's 1/2 of a registration fee that the treasurer and I split. My 1/2 was the 100. So if you go to treasurer, the other half should be showing that as well. And that is for a class that we took specific to gap training.
Thank you.
That the treasurer and the clerk's office took.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else on 1 of 6? 2 of 6? 3 of 6? 4 of 6? 5 of 6?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I did want to just point out under the brand Amazon, there's $89 for full shoulder rest. But as I looked at that invoice, it looks like they'll be returning 4 out of 5. So I think that bill will probably decrease.
6 of 6? And then the computation of total expenses. And then the airport. Any questions on the airport? Right. None? We'll move on to staff and elected reports. Mark, good morning.
Chair.
Yeah, I think it's.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't blow me out of the room. Mark Reed, County Planner. So just a couple items briefly. You just have that final plat for Bucking Iron LLC for the 6 lots up on East Ridge Road. Again, that's coming to you with no recommendation from the city. Should you approve that, and they'll be on their way. They have just a bit of road surfacing to do, and then the letter of credit could be released once it's inspected. So, the P&Z is having a meeting this week on the 5th, again regarding the proposed city transportation plan, which is going through the public review process still. So, and you're certainly welcome to sit down on that if you like. So, anything else that you might be interested in, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions for Mark? Thanks, Mark.
You have it.
Coco?
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I would just like to request to replace my old position, but with an administrative assistant instead of the lead property. And I am working with Kenny on it.
Okay. So Coco, this, like you said, this would just be a replacement.
Yes, yeah, it's not a new position. It would be
Yeah.
replace my old one.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Do we have any questions for Coco? If not, I'd look for a motion for our usual standard.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we allow Coco to advertise for a replacement for her old position. Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Coco. Misty. Kim? Yeah? No. Madam Chair. Clerk Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did get a budget timeline together and it actually is pretty short and sweet. So, Madam Chair, I did not have a chance to run this by you, but it's pretty short and sweet. And if you and I need to tweak it slightly, we can. But, it's just basically giving us the start date, the end date, which, is a little bit shorter. We had such a wide timeline last time. It was just too much time and we sort of got a little shorter than the final deadlines and really squished. So what this is going to do is let, if elected or department heads are looking, the requested budget sheets won't come out until April 7th. That gives us time once again, I'll pass this down. That gives us time once again to see what the legislature is going to do, as well as finish our third quarter. So we have our expenditures through March 31st. So we're looking at our most current numbers to date spent in our current budgets as we compare to what needs to be requested and that kind of a comparison that we like to do, which in the past years has always been in the second quarter, December. So this will give us a whole another quarter to look at where our expenditures are through March 31st. That will give elected department heads 3 weeks to submit the requested budget back to the county clerk. Once those requests are in, they cannot be changed. That is the requested budget. From then forward, we will compile that requested budget and get it to the board by the statutory deadline of May 15th. In the past, I've always beat that deadline, but again, I put the hard and fast deadline in here. That's the latest I can get it to you. And then May 15th to June 16th, that would be through the second meeting, Tuesday meeting in June. That gives the Board of Commissioners 4 weeks and a couple of days to determine all your meeting dates and times that you wish to schedule to work the budget. And again, that would be in your court, Madam Chair, when you want to schedule those and how often and that type of thing. June 16th then would be that second Tuesday in June, the deadline for the board to approve a proposed budget no later than 5 p.m. that night. That gives Deb and I 2 weeks to do the final tweaks, make sure everything's ready. And the hard deadline is July 6th for the Sheridan Press for publication to submit it to them. Again, I'm hoping I can be a few days earlier than that. Statute says to publish not less than 1 day or 1 week ahead of the hearing. So that would be my hard and fast deadline. That'd be the latest I could get it to the press. Again, I hope to have a few days grace there, breathing room. And then July 13th is when it would have to be published by that date because that would meet the statutory deadline of 1 week prior to the public hearing. Again, it'd be nice to have some breathing room, but those are the hard and fast deadlines there at the end. And then July 20th would be the public hearing on the proposed budget. Again, the way the month falls this year in July, it's a little bit later, but that's because July 1st doesn't start till after that Monday, Tuesday. And then the 21st by statute is the final day the board has to adopt it. So no later than the third Tuesday of July for county boards. So again, if we're slightly ahead of schedule by a few days, that would be great, but these are the deadlines that we have to hit for sure.
All right, great. Thank you, appreciate it. And I would just add in that vein, that we're looking at March 24th and 31st as meeting times to discuss elected salaries. Knock on wood, the legislature passed a budget and they don't have to be called back for a special session, but no decisions on the 24th, just a time to start the conversation. And then again, having that final meeting on the 31st. And if folks have some salary changes they'd like to propose in their budgets, just a reminder to please have those in on the April 28th when you submit that to the county clerk. So. Anything else? Any questions for Yada? Okay, thank you, Yada. Katie. Dr. Bird? Diana? Oh, thank you. Heidi? Okay. Amy? Jesse? Oh, okay. Robert?
Robert Gill, Sheridan County Airport Manager. Just wanted to pass along over the last couple of months, I've had conversations with SkyWest in regards to capacity. In April and May, the Gillette Airport their main runway will be closed. They're not going to have air service coming in and out. Had conversations with SkyWest as far as when that takes place on getting additional capacity here. And looks like they're going to start bringing in another flight for us. This isn't going to be a part of the state contract and MOU. They're going to do it at risk. It's just going to be additional flights coming in and out daily. Going to be for about 45 days. I don't have firm dates and times yet. It's looking like it's going to be after an afternoon flight that we'll have this flight come in and do a turn and leave back to Denver. Yeah, really happy that they're going to do that for us, and it's not going to have any costs or additional impacts on us other than it will just be more capacity.
So Robert, I missed the first part of that. My apologies. I was multitasking. This is unrelated to Gillette's airport closure.
No, it's due to the airport.
Oh, okay. We're talking about okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
we have a lot of conversations on capacity and the need here, but they're already seeing additional bookings here in that time frame, and it's going to be needed. And they're willing to work with us on it and just bring in the flights.
Awesome. Great job.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Mr. Jennings.
Robert, is there any concerns about, after that 45-day window is up, having people, well, wait a minute, what's the third?
Well, I'm really hoping that we're going to be successful with it and filling all three of these flights. And I'll be keeping a close eye as we go and what the booking curves look like. I'm really hoping that we can get this just the segue into the summertime. But it's just kind of looking out in advance there and the direction I hope to see it goes. So and that's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Robert? Great. Good news. Thank you, Robert. Eric. Larissa. And your guest.
My guess.
Up the thing.
Larissa Bonnet, Sheridan County Extension. I would like to introduce Zach. He is our new Sheridan County 4-H educator, so I'm going to let him introduce himself so I don't mispronounce his name.
Zachary Hine, lived in Sheridan for 5 years now and longtime 4-H'er, 4-H supporter, and have a teaching degree and done a lot of different things, but excited to join the team here and work with 4-H.
Great. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to have you on board. I'm sure all the 4-H'ers are too,
Yep.
as well as Larissa and his staff has been covering in the meantime. Yeah, welcome. Do you have any questions for Zach? No?
Welcome, Becky.
Thanks for being here this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Kimber.
Nope, I was just gonna introduce Zach, so.
Oh, okay.
It's all good, thank you.
Renee?
That'd be better.
Kelly? Kenny? Good. Nope. Cameron?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning. Tying on to this budget timeline, the GPET funding The annual reports will be requested by anyone who received this past year somewhere in March. We'll get those back. We'll try to set up new requests that might come in that April timeframe. And then if you are going to be conducting any interviews for those requests, it'll stick within this budget timeline that the clerk has already issued. I do also want to give you a heads up that the GPIT funding, the 1 cent optional tax, is scheduled to be on the ballot for November. So we'll also have to work through how the cities, county want to handle that, and then make sure that we're coordinated, get it to the clerk's office by statutory deadlines. But just start thinking about that. That's all I have.
Thanks, Cameron. Any questions for Cameron? No? Commissioner Jennings?
Don't have anything this morning. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Isaac?
I will not be in the office. I'll be here Wednesday morning early, but I'll be gone. I got hell to do with the veterinarian. So after that.
Excuse me. Okay, thank you for the heads up. Commissioner Siddle?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I will be out probably Wednesday afternoon. I'll have to call in to our study session, Amy, because I have a SLIB in Cheyenne on Thursday, and that's, again, that Gulch Road grant that we're asking for. So that's, and then I'll be back Thursday night and back in the office Friday.
Thanks. Madam Chairman, I guess I should, my wife's aunt died on Saturday, and there may be a funeral this week, and so if so, I'll be on for that. We don't know when it's gonna be yet.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner Wright?
Madam Chair, I'll be out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to beautiful Saratoga for LGLP meeting.
Okay, great. Enjoy it. Other than the LGLP part. All right, Karen, you're up on the financial and compliance report.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning. This is the second staff meeting where we're bringing up the audits. This is just a document that's already been provided. It's on the website. Just seeking any feedback, any questions you might have. It is on your agenda for tomorrow to be accepted. And then from there, we have also started the process with the RFPs. I sent out draft versions to commissioners, the deputy county attorney, the treasurer, and the clerk. Just looking for feedback. If you see something glaring, by all means, get it back to me. We're trying to get this out this week. Deadline for return would be March the 4th. And hopefully in second meeting, March 17th, you would have a chance to have opportunity to accept or reject the two RFPs. And that would be the start of the process for the 26 fiscal year audit. So that's the main umbrella look at all of this. So I'm just going to open up if you have questions.
I took a quick glance. I saw a year typo. I think it said 2000-0256 or something like that.
If you could send that. I look at this so many times.
Yeah,
that,
I bet.
yeah.
But
Thank you.
I just, that was a cursory look. Commissioner Jennings, did you have something?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just had two questions. The first of which is on page 66, when it's talking about county debt limit. And according to this, our limit is $14,899,550. As I'm looking at this, and this is just trying to get some in my mind, when we're looking at the balance, because it says that we have no outstanding debt subject to this limitation. Are we looking at the balance, the total balance of by 2025, or what's due within a year for that debt limitation?
For this definition, it's going out on our own for, let's say, a bank loan. And we haven't had anything that applies to that. So when we do a slip loan for a construction project, when we have leases, none of that applies to this limitation.
That clarifies it. I appreciate it. The other question I had was on page 102. And I think I remember this being in here last year. but I can't remember why it was in here, and I think it was something that was cleared up. But on page 102, it says under budget violations, that we have a violation of Wyoming State Statute 164108.
And that's what we discussed last.
Yeah, I was thinking that's what it was, but I was just seeking a little more reminding of what that was.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Jennings, yes, that is what we did talk about, and I had mentioned a budget amendment would be coming. Since then, the financial committee that Christy Haswell, chairwoman, put together, we did meet on Monday with the treasurer and my office and your office, and went through the actual line items that created that amount, and will be definitely some of that is going to be dealt with the budget amendment, and then some might be dealt by moving monies in reserves. But the bottom line is we need a number on the spreadsheet to take care of transfers. So this is the transfers of monies. If I'm misspeaking, please correct me. But it's something that on paper we didn't have budgeted, but in reality, as Chairwoman mentioned last Monday, everything financially, the monies are there, things were, the money's there. We just didn't show it in the budget that we had budgeted for those items. Sorry, I'm talking off the top of my head because all my notes are downstairs, but anyway, forgot to bring with me, my apologies.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just as a clarification, is we've identified what has happened with the 374, but we won't be able to do an official budget amendment for those numbers since it's in the past. But it's the same mistake can carry out with other transactions in our current fiscal year, and that's what those budget amendments coming your way will be for items that have occurred since July 1st, 2025. So can't really adjust this other than to identify, yes, we do have a problem. Can't really go back in time, but we can correct that from happening again in the future.
Chair, thank you for that clarification. Because that's, yeah, again, we're talking off the top of my head, but.
And then the finance committee will meet 2 more times this month and just continue to plug away at some of these items. So. Anything else?
Madam Chair, my only other statement is I really, really, really wish I've asked for it for the last 2 years, but our auditors, they don't do it. We have all of these notes. Maybe in the future with if we continue with this current auditor, or if we go with someone else, I really would love to see this where if you've got a note on an item, it's at least close to where the section is, instead of having to flick back and forth and trying to determine where these sections fit in to the audit.
And there are rules about how they have to write this report.
Yeah.
And those are actually changing for next year already again.
That would be great. So hopefully that's one of the changes they put in there.
My understanding was that PMCH would be able to put in a different footnote closer, but they didn't do that. But yeah, the notes still have to be at the end, but they may be able to, just like you're doing a research paper, do a little note at the bottom and refer back to this page. PMCH didn't do it this time, but it is something we could request out of any auditor that's chosen in the future. But you are correct, Madam Chair, that there's a certain style that has to be written with these, but it is frustrating for the layperson to read.
Okay, anything else? All right. Oh, hi, Amy. Right on time. Good morning.
Should do that very well. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
So it's my normal quarterly update. I don't have a huge amount to cover, so obviously can offer up any opportunity for you guys to ask me any questions. What I did want to cover, just a couple highlights. We were able to have our allocation passed. Our allocation with the Forest Service actually comes through Department of Interior, which is a little bit different in here. But luckily, all of that passed, and we weren't, having to go through the shutdown as some of the other agencies are right now. With that, the budget numbers aren't, they are down from previous year. But luckily for the Bighorn National Forest, we still do have the elk disaster funding that is coming through. So, and that's a 5-year funding. We're year 1 into that 5 years. And so we've made a tremendous progress. Some of the holdups, obviously, just with administration changes and new process and policy to have to go through, which we did this last year, but still made some tremendous progress on disaster recovery projects, primarily through our partnerships. A huge one that obviously impacts the county with County Weed and Pest. We were able to get a significant amount of funding over to Weed Pest District in order to hire an individual this past summer that did a significant amount of monitoring for invasives. Invasives being one of the larger concerns that we had, obviously after a large fire footprint like that. That's going to be a long-term process that we're going to be watching for many years, obviously. Being really aggressive this first 5 years that we have the funding, and then obviously it's going to be something that we'll be working closely with you all and with Walker down at the Weed and Pest District. I'm hopeful that he's able to also have some additional help and support, because I know that Sheridan County saw a significant amount of fire that has to deal with all of these invasives across the whole county. So it's not an easy issue to address, and I know that you guys are very familiar with that, but we were able to make some progress there and hopefully get some actual treatment on the ground this next summer as we start to see if we see anything. We haven't seen a huge amount of impact from that yet, but obviously on the first year following a fire, usually don't. It's usually years 2 and up after that. We were able to get a significant amount of road work, all of the suppression repair done, the fire lines all rehabbed, trails as stabilized as we can, working with a number of our partners. We had Conservation Corps, at least 8 to 10 different stints where these Corps crews come out. Even though we were not able to hire seasonals last year, we had at least 8 to 12 different 2-week stints that came out to really address trail work within the burn scar area. And then working with USGS, they had installed quite a few monitors. Jesse was aware of that with the county also, and a huge advocate to getting additional ones that even installed and monitoring that as we continue to watch the effects of the fire itself. We also had within the fire perimeter, there was roughly 44 miles of fence. Not all of it was lost. Some areas more than others, obviously. Spent this last summer doing quite a bit of inventory. Some of our procurement processes had changed, so we weren't able to get a lot of material coming our way, but luckily over the last couple of weeks, I've made progress. We have material that is now assured to get to us by June 1st so that we can actually start some major rehab of fencing. And a lot of that will have to be redone on the ground too, because a lot of the permittees up there had relied, and we relied heavily on timbered units to actually be the fence barrier. And now that you lose timber, obviously we have to rethink how we run allotments and whatnot. Out of the 13 range permittees that were impacted, one, again, across the board, as far as when I say impact, varying from little to extreme amount, there was a handful that decided, operations based at their home unit were significant enough that they elected not to come up. We did not have anybody where we held them off intentionally, just recognizing that the fencing and the infrastructure piece is a big impact to our operators. And we were very willing and forgiving, obviously, to try to work with them. Some of them were able to make that work, just having writers and whatnot, but it was a fascinating year. We did have really good growth, and so they still were able to be up there, and the landscape still produced quite a bit. But obviously that's going to be a long-term fix that we're working now with Department of Agriculture in an agreement with Sheridan Conservation District to actually funnel some of that disaster funding through them to actually get a crew on the ground that can do fence installation versus having to impact either our permittees or even getting a crew ourselves. They have the ability to leverage some of the flexibilities that we don't necessarily have. So hopefully we'll see a crew up there doing a lot of that repair work this summer. Continued work on roads and trails will also continue, obviously, and as we watch some of that steeper country go through any rain events, we'll be doing just like we did with Wyoming Department of Transportation with the one Crystal Springs draw that we saw a significant amount of material come this last spring when we had those rain events, and just being able to get equipment there right on, as soon as things happen, notifications early to our impacted landowners down below, and working with all of the entities. But I mean, none of it would have been a success without our partnerships, and I could go through Wyoming State Forestry, Wyoming Department of Agriculture, our county partners with Wheaton Pass, the Conservation District, and so many other partners that obviously it takes a huge team to accomplish a lot of good work on the ground. Obviously, took much of my time this last summer with the disaster recovery, a lot of our team's time, and will in the coming years too. One big piece of news is that we are optimistic that even though we're not able to really hire a lot of permanent employees, we did get authority from OPM to pick up a handful of seasonals. We did not have seasonals last year, so we're really optimistic that we'll be able to get our own dedicated trail crew. It was awesome to be able to lean on our partners with the CCC crews, but certainly having some of our own flexibility to have that crew all summer long, so that we are able to address needs, more quickly than if we were relying on an outside entity to come in. So I don't really have anything else other than disaster recovery. If there's specific questions, I'd be happy to address them.
I did have a question about the big beautiful bill and the timber sales that Trump is directing the Forest Service, 250 million board feet or something. I can't remember the exact number. And maybe those aren't the type of timber sales that we would even do on the Bighorn Mountains, but how do we do those without the staff?
It's a great
They cut staff and then tell us to sell timber.
Yes. On the one hand, the Bighorn is prepped fairly adequately for the increase in demand and requests that we've been given. Typically, the Bighorn has offered right around 13,000 CCF, and if I speak in timber terms, I apologize. I'm an engineer by training, not a forester, but I've learned over the years of my 25-year career to speak a little bit of that language. Essentially, our forest plan laid out, certain volume that back when the forest plan was done in 2005, that of the Bighorn National Forest, which would be considered suitable timber. And roughly, we had estimated based on all of those values and volume to be around 13,000. What we have produced in the last couple of years, probably the last 5, is right around 18 to 20,000. This last year, it was 26,000, and now we're being asked to produce 33,000. Now, the sustainability of that going actually further than 2 or 3 more years, we just, number one, the landscape can't keep up with it. Number 2, we don't, as you're correctly stating, we don't have the staff to keep up with it. Andrew did meet last week. Andrew Johnson, our forest supervisor, did meet last week over in the Black Hills with a number of the industry partners. So these would be your larger operators, larger timber sale companies from Montana to the Black Hills. What they're trying to do is restructure what I would call these timber baskets, so to speak, so that the bighorns wouldn't be settled like you have to produce this volume every year, but really looking at the industry and saying across this northern part of Wyoming and maybe even southern Montana, this is the volume that we estimate to be available. Not necessarily saying it's all from the Black Hills or all from the Shoshone or all from the Bighorn, but that this is the volume that's available and still meeting that target, but recognizing that the timber personnel to actually pull that off, you've got markers, you've got the civil culturist and everything to actually ensure that we're doing it still environmentally sound processes. And having that team kind of move across those different units to ensure that we've got adequate environmental analysis, we've got adequate studies to ensure that we've got the proper process. We have a number of environmental analyses that we've done over the years. As you all were familiar, I included many a time in my update on the Sheridan Municipal Watershed Project. We had the Thai Flume Vegetation Project, Buffalo Municipal Watershed Project. We've set ourselves up on the bighorns to be very well prepped. However, our environmental analysis will run out with, I think 2 years from now, we're going to be kind of looking for that next larger project. We do have other authorities in our toolbox to use as far as categorical exclusions. What I would say, regardless of the environmental process, we still do the same wildlife surveys, heritage surveys, the impacts to the watershed, impacts to the social political side. We still do all of those parts and pieces. It's just if it falls into a categorical exclusion, it's not the great big, long, drawn out document and process. The next one that we will be going into, and I believe I briefed you guys last time, was the what we would have done is an environmental analysis is the Tongue River watershed. We're going to actually separate those into smaller units as to what the actual timber unit would be. And so you'll see those coming out. I'll be working with you all to receive feedback from the county's perspective, also along with our partners.
And is that just the Forest Service responsibility, or is that in conjunction with state forestry, those numbers?
It's just the Forest Service's responsibility. However, because of our staffing, we have an amazing relationship with the state forestry folks, specifically like Jacob McCarthy, that is based out of Buffalo and handles a significant portion of the work in Sheridan County. Without that partnership, we would not be able to successfully complete the treatments that we need to.
Yeah. Speaking of Buffalo, has the Powder River District found a home yet?
I'm still looking. Yes, their lease did expire, and Andrew was back in DC a couple weeks ago, aggressively looking for opportunities to figure out a permanent solution for that.
So just two other things. Sorry, and if anybody else has another question, and I just forgot to mention this last week, although I don't think we'd had our call on the programmatic post-fire EA that just came out. So I may have some comments for you there.
Oh, the nationwide one.
Yeah, because the sense was if we can go back to the forest plan, we already have tools we can use to handle these. And we actually ended up having more questions than really coming to any resolution. And of course, counties weren't considered cooperating agents again, which was frustrating. And I know a lot of offices didn't even know this came out when it came out nationally. So
we didn't, we heard about it probably at the same time you did.
Yeah. And then we just started working on our congressional tour for staffers from DC. This year through the County Commissioner Association. It's going to be Northeast Wyoming. And that's going to be August 10th through the 16th. Unfortunately, it covers 6 counties. So we're looking at changing it up. Nobody's going to get more than a day, if that. We're trying to figure out how we blow through Converse County. But there was a lot of discussion about doing some part of the tour around the elk fire. And so having, you and Andrew there, Kelly Norris, talking about Good Neighbor Authority, partnerships. So I'll be reaching out on that one.
That would be amazing, yes.
Yeah.
And we also anticipate our chief coming out and also meeting with, Kelly's gonna be in some version of that. And so once I have an actual date of when he'll be coming, I'll let you know too. But there's a number of things. What he's been spending his first year as chief doing is really getting out, and which I am tremendously grateful for. Actually visiting the units and meeting with partners to actually hear firsthand issues, just like you were talking about with the programmatic. firsthand from our partners and not just from us either. But again, with that programmatic, when I take a look at it, it really, I don't know, because I haven't dove into it detail by, line by line. I don't know that it'll make much of a difference because we've already have such, really, really good forest plan that we've been implementing and working closely with all of the counties and all of our partners already, that it will change our process very much at all.
I think
If at all.
Yeah, one of the questions that Kelly had brought up was, does it include treatments for prescribed fire afterwards? And it doesn't really address that. So, yeah. Anyway, it was a good conversation, but yeah, we'll be in touch.
Very good.
Any other questions? for me?
Yes, Madam Chairman, so the same question probably that I always have. The Burgess Junction Visitor Center will still be good to go, I assume, and then where we at on the Shell Falls?
Good. Yes, the visitor center, I usually work with Sean to get a kind of preseason after action from last season and preseason right around this time.
Mhm.
And so it's just a matter of our calendars aligning to get that done for this
Okay.
coming season. Operations, I think, were very, very smooth this last summer. Anticipate the same. Hopefully he can get a couple more, hired so that he can have the support up there. I know they have just 2 employees that worked last year, and I have an employee from my office that goes up once or twice a week just to help support, because there's so many people that walk in the door there.
It was awesome. They had the warm, fresh cookies on Father's Day. It was nice,
Yeah, they saw traffic from all over. It's pretty impressive
Yeah.
where people come from and how many people come in and stop at that place. Shell Falls is, and as far as we know, that with our contracting processes, the way it has changed, that contract was supposed to go out to bid. If it does not go to bid in the time it's supposed to within the next couple weeks, they will push it back so that they will keep things open and try to get some porta potties there. Because people are gonna stop there no matter what. And part of
Right.
the issue was just not having adequate service. And we've had plenty of cleanup efforts from keeping it open without toilet services. And it's a human health and safety issue. That if we don't have the proper facilities to manage the sheer volume of people stopping there, it will be closed. But the intention is the only time it will be closed is when that contractor has this equipment moved in there and is actually working on the new septic system. What's wrong is there's no power and the septic is really shot.
Right.
And so we need new facilities up there and we've been told by our contracting folks that is supposed to go to bid. So
Very
fingers
good.
crossed that everything goes smoothly.
And I just have one more comment. I spent quite a lot of time up there, and the work that you did on the roads and trails last year was phenomenal. That made it so much better to get around,
Amazing job.
and they did a really great job and got through. I mean, it's awesome that you had the money to do that with, but got through a lot of that country that some of those roads have been almost impassable for a long time and made it a whole lot better. So I do certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the blessing and the curse of a fire is that you actually get some equipment time on those roads.
Yeah, it was very well improved up there.
Very
So,
good.
thank
That's
you.
excellent to hear.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
I was wondering, do you have any timber sales that were actually awarded, somebody actually bid on them and then what do you foresee about logistics? It sounds to me like we have a logistics problem with our timber sales rather than actually that we don't have timber. We do have the timber. It's just how to get it from point A to point B. Could you?
That's a tremendous impact. Just even the fuel costs of hauling has severely impacted our timber industry. We have had sales go through. There's a couple that have not, but we have had sales go through and there's a couple stewardship contracts that go through. So they're still removing. It's the same type of removal. It's just the tool that is actually allocated to get the work done. Some of the timber that we have is very unique to the type of mill. And so there's certain mills that will take it and there's certain mills that, need certain diameter that we just don't have that diameter on the forest. the couple mills that we have worked with, there's a couple mills out of the Black Hills. They have been targeting more of the southern half of the forest. Obviously, like you said, it's logistics, it's moving timber from the southern half is cheaper than trying to come all the way on the north half. However, Nyman did have one sale, Nyman being a larger operator out of the Black Hills, had one sale in the Typhoon area, and that they still have. And then there's a operator out of Montana, and that's quite a haul too, any timber there. And we meet twice a year with the timber industry. They come in all the way from small operators like Joe Lancidel down out of Buffalo, all the way up to large operators like Nyman. Everybody sitting around the table with state forestry and ourselves kind of talking about what capacities they have, what needs they have, where they're sitting, you know, how much things are costing even just to process. Some of their bigger issues are just getting employees, full crews to actually staff out a full crew. I know Montana has struggled with getting people hired that can be, you know, cover those full shifts at a mill itself. And so we talk about all those various issues. The timber isn't the issue as far as quantity. In all reality, they have plenty of quantity right now. So what they've asked on a couple of the sales that they have is to extend the contract time so that they have a longer time to actually go in and harvest it. Just because of their capabilities, staffing, and all of the equipment costs and everything that it takes. We were able to successfully complete what was called the Triumph Timber Sale, which was right off of Black Mountain Road. That one was done and finished this last summer, so we still have an aggressive schedule to get those that have been awarded done and complete. There's another one that's down off of Grave Road in between maybe the TP property all the way over to Park Reservoir. There's a timber sale, various units that are in there that hopefully will be done, and that's a company out of Montana that's supposed to be here. They did road work last year to prep. But again, some of the timing and scheduling has been changed because of the logistics piece, just getting pieces of equipment and where they're moving from here to Montana.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right.
Great
Thanks,
update.
Commissioners. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
appreciate your time. All right, our next item is executive session pursuant to state statute 64-405A, subtitle 3, saying that right? Matters concerning litigation. Now would look for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Arce.
I move to convene into executive session pursuant to statute 16-4-405, sub A, sub I, matters concerning litigation.
Second. Right, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Pause. There's nobody here to come back in.
We good now? Madam Chair, I move
Yes.
to reconvene into regular session.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And we are adjourned at 10:05. I don't think I have this in executive session, but in terms of a message that we can give people if they call. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.